In the back.
Acting Deputy President, before starting want to acknowledge and welcome the grandmothers in purple who are with us here in the chamber. Acting Deputy President, on Monday of this week I was privileged, along with the Minister for Energy and Resources, the Honourable Josh Frydenberg, past Ministers Ian Macfarlane and Gary Gray, and the Member for Durack, Melissa Price, to travel with Chevron to Barrow Island to celebrate a milestone in the Gorgon project, Acting Deputy President, and that is the fact that by tomorrow, or Friday, the first ever shipment of LNG, liquid natural gas, will leave Barrow Island for clients in Japan. The project, principally Chevron, minor partners Shell, ExxonMobil and some Japanese electric companies, is a $55 billion project, Acting Deputy President, the biggest resources project ever in Australia's history, and the largest private sector investment in the world in resources today. Let me put it into perspective. The Snowy Mountains scheme in today's dollars would be about 8 billion Australian dollars. The Gorgon project on Barrow Island, together with its neighbour, also a Chevron project, Wheatstone down the road in Exmouth, just under $100 billion US dollars. The first of 3 trains has now been completed and the Asian Enterprise, a new Chevron ship, one of 4 already built, with 2 more to come, was alongside. We visited the ship and, of course, we celebrated with the executives and the staff of Chevron and their associates what is an absolute milestone. It's an example of environmental responsibility, Acting Deputy President. Barrow Island is an A-class reserve and, of course, it was for many, many years under the environmental responsibility and direction of Harry Butler, an absolutely amazing person who only died recently. But this is a project that occupies only 1.5% of the landmass of Barrow Island. They've been producing oil on Barrow Island for some 50 years, and to see the level of environmental responsibility, certainly an island that would be well ahead of any others around the Australian coastline in terms of the absence of vermin particularly. But what it does prove, of course, is that alongside responsible environmental management, we can also have a massive oil and gas project. Acting Deputy President, let me tell you a little bit about the project in terms of its contribution to Australia and Western Australia. 95% of the 19,000 employees who have worked on the Gorgon project are Australian. There are 5,500 still on the island today, completing trains 2 and 3, which should be available and operating within about 12 months. And of course, within 12 months, the first of the 3 Wheatstone projects will come alongside. And to give you some indication of the scale of this operation, by the time the 3 Gorgon trains are operating, a ship will leave Barrow Island every 36 hours for the next 40 years, at least 40 years, to supply liquid natural gas to our clients in Asia and elsewhere. And of course, as we all know, the greatest hope for reduction of carbon pollution around the world is to use LNG to replace other higher carbon-producing sources of energy and electricity. Almost 1,000 contracts were let and are being let to Australian companies. In excess of $25 billion has gone to Australian companies as a result. About $1.6 billion has been spent on exploration within Australia between 2009 and now. But, Acting Deputy President, I do want to reflect also on the contribution of the Chevron project, the Wheatstone project and others in the LNG space to the Australian economy. It is predicted that more than $1 trillion, I'll repeat that, more than $1 trillion will be added to the GDP of Australia, about $32 billion per year over the life of this project. We know that about 150,000 full-time equivalent jobs in Australia are being, or have been, or will be created. Acting Deputy President, the contribution to the Australian government federal revenue alone from Gorgon Wheatstone will be of the order of $340 billion. Remember, this is a private sector project without a dollar of government investment. We know that it will add some $320 billion to the real incomes of Australians, around $10 billion a year, with the added value, of course, of income tax that will go into the system. Acting Deputy President, it's not known around the world, but by 2018-19, with the North West Shelf projects, with the Ichthys project in Darwin and the existing ConocoPhillips project, with Gorgon and Wheatstone and with the Queensland LNG projects underway, Australia will go past Qatar as the largest exporter of LNG in the world. An absolutely remarkable performance. I want to particularly give credit to the inspirational leadership of the Managing Director of Chevron here in Western Australia, Mr Roy Krasinski. Krasinski's knowledge of the project was so much in evidence on Gorgon on Monday. It didn't matter what question was asked of his executives, of the operational team. Krasinski is so well across Gorgon, he was able to give us detailed information. 160 million cubic metres of LNG, for example, going out on the vessel on Thursday or Friday. The capacity over time, the amount of investment, and this is, of course, world's best practice. This is new, it is the best, and it is Australian. I did not mention in the representation about our capacity into the future, of course, the Shell Prelude project, Acting Deputy President, in which the Shell company is currently building, having built in South Korea, the largest floating structure ever built, and it will be a floating LNG, liquid natural gas, operation offshore Western Australia, contributing again to Australia's LNG capacity. Returning to Krasinski, despite regrettably the criticism that's been levelled at him by Western Australian Labor colleagues in this place, he has led, with his executive team, his managers, his supervisors and the very caring personnel on Gorgon, he has led a remarkable occupational safety, health and welfare record. It was interesting to me to have a look at the quality of the facilities, cyclone-proof facilities, the mess, the catering, the gymnasium, which is about the most used structure. And to give you an example of the seriousness with which people take their lives and their roles, we were told that they are entitled to 4 cans of mid-strength beer per day, and the average consumption is one. People's attention to their physical fitness, to their ongoing training, to their skills development was very much in evidence. Acting Deputy President, it is important for the Australian community to have an understanding of the scale and the importance of projects such as this one. A feature of the LNG project on Gorgon is the carbon capture and storage program, which will, when it's operating, put about 3.2 million tonnes of carbon under the ground safely to a significant depth, the largest carbon capture and storage project anywhere in the world. And I should also hasten to add, for my Western Australian constituents, the Gorgon project is committed to supplying a significant amount of domestic gas, and already in place, of course, are the vastly sized dom gas pipes and tanks, and we saw again as we journeyed out onto the jetty. But, Acting Deputy President, what I want to reflect on, if I may, in the few moments left available to me, is the environmental responsibility that sits beside Gorgon. When you are at the airport, for example, I purchased almonds and mixed nuts to bring over here to Canberra with me for the week. They were taken off me, although they were never going to leave my briefcase. Taken off me. Your shoes are checked, your pockets are emptied. Any vehicle going on to Gorgon from Dampier is sterilised, and these are huge trucks, as you know, Acting Deputy President. They're sterilised, they are shrink-wrapped in plastic, and they are conveyed onto the island. I think it stands as an example to anyone who's critical of the capacity of resource projects like this one to not only exist beside environmentally sensitive areas such as Barrow Island, but to enhance it. I conclude by congratulating Chevron on their partners and saying what a great project this is for the future of Australia.